Hello, this is Dr. Nancy O'Reilly, and I would like to welcome you to Smart Amazing Conversations with Dr. Nancy, a podcast that takes a look at stories of life and leadership for smart, amazing women and men like you.
The most important thing is showing up. Don't think that you have to bring anything. Bring yourself, show up, and remain steadfast and be a...
If you are in a position of leadership and a position of management, bring women along with you.
Supporting women is my passion and my purpose. And talking with other women and men who promote women's leadership is one of my favorite things to do.
I've yet to meet a woman who did not know what she really wanted. She was just either afraid to ask the questions or she was afraid of what the answers meant.
Their stories connect us and help us to understand that the possibilities are endless if we support each other and lift other women up.
Trust is created by persistent identity. I show up as myself time and time and time again, and trust is built. It's one conversation at a time.
Hello, I'm Dr. Nancy O'Reilly, and I'm happy to welcome Terra Renee to Smart Amazing Conversations with Dr. Nancy. You may have heard Terra before on my other conversations. It's always a pleasure to hear about her new events and activities she hosts and supports women of color filmmakers. 23 years ago, Terra founded African American Women in Cinema, and each year, the organization under Terra's leadership does more and more to support women storytellers. A few months ago, Terra welcomed me as a guest on her new podcast, Talk with Terra, the #1 show on Rudy Radio. Prior to founding AWIC, Terra studied filmmaking and directing intern, Columbia Pictures, and associate produced several independent films, including Island Alicia, a feature which was an official selection of the Cannes Film Festival UN Certain Regard category. She has served as a judge for several of Hollywood's most prestigious awards and produced the Women of Excellence Salute Awards hosted by Morgan Stanley. Whew! Terra also created a platform for women of color filmmakers during the Sundance Film Festival with a partnership with the Utah Film Studios. And she co-organized and hosted the Women in Power Making a Global Difference conference at the United Nations, sponsored by African Women of Good Governance. She is also a contributor author to the book titled Michelle Obama's Impact on African American Women and Girls. And she has won so many awards that I can name from the organization like NAACP with titles like that, Women of the Year, Living Legend, and Keeping the Dream. So it goes on and on. I don't know how many more. I could do this all day. And she keeps producing the most amazing films. And she's inspiring. She is an inspiring powerhouse that I'm so pleased to welcome back to talk to Terra Renee. Welcome back to Conversations with Smart, Amazing Women. Today's women.
Thank you, Dr. Nancy. What an honor and a privilege to be here with you on this day. This really means the world to me. And I tell you, you are a big inspiration in my life. Since the day that we first met. And I am so grateful that God allowed our paths to cross and meet and that we can continue to move forward and make a difference in our lifetime. So thank you for having me here.
Yeah. Well, this time is about you because, and we've talked about this before, but women, when they see someone like yourself who's wonderful personality, attractive, successful, they think it's so easy for her or you. And I think this is what happens with women, especially. We do a lot of comparing, which is absolutely incorrect. We compare ourselves to media and market that's put out there that is impossible to even compare and match ourselves to. But let's talk about your story. How'd you get to be you? Not the very beginning. From here to becoming a filmmaker and such a force for women as far as filmmaking and storytelling.
Oh, wow. Okay. How long do we have?
Well, we have the rest of our lives, but like today we only have so I guess we have to be realistic.
No, I understand. I'm going to put it in a succinct format. It all started out with a passion. I felt very strongly to go into entertainment, and I didn't know why, because in my immediate family, there are no entertainers. No one is in entertainment in my immediate family. But the drive and the call was so strong that I could not ignore it. So what I did was I just applied for local acting work. I just got involved and volunteered for local productions. And then one day I got a call from a casting director who Warner Brothers had hired. And they were looking for a tall African-American woman who was not a size 0 for an under 5 role. And an under 5 role is under 5 lines. And a lot of times, Dr. Nancy, those roles never make it in the film. They end up on the cutting room floor. But anyway, so I went, and when I got to the audition site and saw about 1,000 women look like me, I was just floored. No idea of the lack of opportunities. First of all, lack of opportunities for women, period, at the time that I was, starting out, which is kind of expanded a little bit now. But anyway, I was just floored. And so the advocacy just rose up in me. Now, I do come from a lineage of civil rights activists. I had an uncle who participated in one of the marches, was thrown in jail. My grandfather attended Dr. King's funeral. So I have all that. And so that's what I believe in my subconscious rose up. When I saw those 1,000 women, I said, oh no, I have to create jobs. Just so naive and green and wet behind the ear. But nevertheless, I went ahead and I started writing and written a screenplay. A few friends of mine had encouraged me to apply for a grant so I could realize this dream to hire women, particularly women of color who was seeking these roles like I was. And so I did apply for a grant. And one day I came home, saw this unique envelope in my mailbox, opened it up, and it says, congratulations, you received the grant. I was beside myself, just in complete shock. And so the way that this particular organization who gave the grant, the way that they structured you to receive the check is through an awards luncheon. So I went to the awards luncheon, met a young lady there who was just enthralled with what I did and the application. And so she said, I would love to be your publicist. I thought that was funny because just getting started, what are we talking about? But anyway, she convinced me. So out of that meeting was only supposed to be a one-time event. And I said, okay, I'll call it African American Woman in Cinema. And we highlighted women producers who were on various levels. For example, one who produced a short, one who directed a feature, so they can talk to the audience who were interested, including myself, how this process or what to expect out of the process from soup to nuts. And it went well. And to my surprise, that's where I felt this strong calling. I felt an ease, as if it said, this is what you were called to do, and you finally found it. Now, ironically, at the same time, in my search, I took a couple of courses at School of Visual Arts, and I studied film directing. And there I met a young Vietnamese guy who took a liking to me. And he, one day after class, he says, because he kept smiling at me every time I walked in class. And so one day after class, he said, so do you want to get in this business? And I said, well, I'm studying. And he says, well, I'll break you in. And I started laughing. And so, but sure enough, he took me to several of his friends. They were doing short films. And here I am right in the midst of them on the crew, helping them with whatever I'm learning. And then one day, one of his friends received full funding for his feature film. And that's when he asked me to come on board as an associate producer. I was the only woman who was the above the line, as they call it in Hollywood. Only woman, well, since I was the only woman, I was woman of color, happened to be the only woman of color. And fast forward, after we shot the film, he meaning the director, submitted the film to the Cannes Film Festival, and that's when we got selected for one of the main categories, which is called the uncertain regard, because they could not understand, or the judges couldn't determine which category they wanted to put it in, but they felt it was important enough to include it in the main stage, if you will.
Sure.
So that happened the same time that I found my calling to do African American women in cinema. So it was like an explosion. Like, here she comes on the scene.
An explosion that keeps exploding right and left. Yeah, but I mean, that must have been amazingly. I mean, I'm just kind of visualizing as you walked into that room to try out for that particular role, and you see all these other women of color that you immediately know there is a need. And this is what women are so good about. I don't know what color, I don't care what color you are or what your background is, that we're so good at looking around and seeing what the need is. And it almost sounds like the universe said, Terra Renee, this is what you're going to be doing. You're on the path, and you're at the right time with the right people, and things keep happening for you. So, I mean, this is the story, and I think this is the other part that's so important. What you're doing is that you are a storyteller. And this is the most important thing, that even companies are beginning to recognize that telling their story about who they are and to their clients and to their customers, not only their customers inside their companies, which I believe many companies don't understand, but also the customers they have outside of the company. And the other thing, of course, and then I'm going to throw this back at you, is that people don't have to believe everything they read, they see, and they hear. And this is what a good storyteller can do, is to really show people what the opportunities are. And that's what you've been doing all along, is showing women of color and showing the world the importance of not only supporting women, but that anything is possible. I like this. You said, be bold. Yes, be bold. So okay, let's move forward into now where we are today. But, one of the things that you said, and I absolutely believe this, is I want women to know that they all have the talent they need to lead their organization. And this is something that is so important, is how do we get women to feel confident? How do we get women to understand that they're deserving? How do we get them to know that they've been leading in their lives in so many different ways that they don't even recognize the talents and the abilities they do have?
That is so important, Dr. Nancy. Wow, I can approach that in many different directions, but I'll take a few. So I had a very unique conversation with a good friend of mine who is doing very well with her organization. And she just solidified a deal with a major media outlet. And while she was so excited, at the same time, she became severely afraid, and then start, questioning her self-worth, all these things. And it was at that moment I said, you are worth this, because you wouldn't even have this opportunity. This opportunity wouldn't even come your way if you were not worth it. And I began to think, one of the unique things of technologies that we're in this era that we're in, I call it YouTube University, which is an amazing platform. And if I can't get anyone on the phone right quick, I have learned to go to YouTube University and just kind of type in the subject, I'm feeling tired. And I began to see a litany of videos of women talking about, that same issue and the steps they took to get out of it. And doing that, some people feel that, the technology is a very isolated space. It's a very singular space, and it does not allow room for anybody else. But I see that point. But it can be a safe space emotionally if you need an outlet to just get some insight and understanding to help push you to the next level. Because, I don't know, women in general, we've just been taught so differently. I don't know if they expected us for the next, million years to be in the kitchen and raise the children and all that. Nothing is wrong with that. But God gave us so much more. Yeah. And we have a responsibility to contribute. So because of that mentality, I think in a lot of areas we weren't developed to understand our worth, our value, what we bring to the table, and the richness of that. And not only that, we weren't taught to create safe space for each other. Yeah. When I connect with my friend knows when she's in my company, it's a safe company. She feels emotionally safe. I'm not going to destroy her or judge her in that manner. And I think that we need to, as women leaders, you can start off at YouTube University to get it.
I like that.
From that perspective.
Yeah, I do like that.
But also, who in your cell phone that you believe provides that safe space for you emotionally that you can go to that can help, reinforce all the positive attributes that you have. Yeah. We focus on the negative. I understand that. But balance, in my mind, is the key to life.
Yeah. Well, but I'm going to go back to the YouTube University. Yeah, you can go on YouTube, learn how to do anything. And like I said, you can go on and express yourself. Well, we've got Instagram, Facebook, everybody's going on and they're videoing. I do a video every morning to just kind of different thoughts about, deserving. And I always end it with, don't forget how special and unique you are. But the storytelling, this is where I challenge people such as yourself over and over again, because we need great storytellers. We need not only great historians to tell stories about women who have been successful, but stories about what women are doing today, every day, like Michelle Obama, that are doing every day of their lives to make this a better world. And that's what you do. I mean, I think what filmmakers need to understand that their responsibility is to be great storytellers and to also continue to share the good news. Let's face it, my goal has always been to have a channel, a good news channel, like YouTube University, but a place that everyone can go every day, get inspiration, and feel really good about yourself. I just talked to an astronaut, and basically I loved his concept. He has the biggest world universe view of all. And he says what people forget to do is to forget they forget to see the wonder and the awe of our lives. And this is where you come into it, is that, you continue to inspire people, but you also bring the women into the field to truly experience how important they are. Not only are they deserving, but how important they are to share their stories of not only the hard knock schools. I mean, we all have the hard knock schools, but how they've risen and how they help to rise and lift other women as they move forward. So, that's always been the best thing that when I think about filmmakers, is that your responsibility, first of all, has been to find other women of color who are so deserving, and to tell their stories. I've got a little fly that won't leave me alone, by the way. So I'm not trying to, every time I get on these podcasts, there's one that goes, I'm going to get right there. Anyway, so my challenge, of course, to you is to continue to do the great work that you're doing. And, again, the key that you are once again is the whole key concept of Women Connect for Good is women supporting other women. How do you think we're doing right now? How are we doing out there? I mean, I like to get a measurement from other people and see what they think is going on. I still have a quandary about white women not supporting other white women. I think women of color do a much better job, by the way. So, but I think white women, we don't support each other. So that's
interesting. Okay.
Some do, but a lot don't. We're still the old school competing for the Mrs. degree or whatever. I don't know what it is. What's your measurement look like right now?
You know, Dr. Nancy, I must say that I have been feeling very, very positive about what's been transpiring. And I'm praying that we can continue this going forward. But I've been invited to participate in several women's groups, women groups of color, who have decided and made up in their mind that they were going to try to put aside personal differences and just side behavior that would be so distracting and so destructive, because they realized and they subscribed to a bigger picture that's much bigger than themselves. And I tell you, being on a few of those calls where we would literally have women who would say, well, I'm running for office. I would love to have your support. And to hear other women say, well, we don't have much, but here's $5, here's $3, that was very inspiring for me to be on the call, just to hear that. So from that perspective, and that was not the only group, I end up being invited in another group. And these are young women in technology, in the technology space. And to hear their level of support and want to really, give a listening ear, how can they be of help to support, each other? That was inspiring. And I am wondering and thinking and believing at the same time, due to where we are as a country in the whole racial reckoning, where a whole lot of things that have been buried, now coming to the forefront. I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where President Biden spoke, and was floored when I met several women who live in Tulsa. They said they were born and raised and never heard of the riot, the massacre, never heard of the massacre. And so I think as these narratives start making themselves more visible, it sparked some sort of a flame that says, you know what, we really need to help one another if we can. And these are pockets that I'm running into. So I'm inspired by that.
Well, I want to continue to challenge you, but this is where I'm sitting with all this, because I really, I am disappointed in some white women that really don't support each other. But there are more and more women that understand, and I think this is the whole point: is that women, until we support ourselves, I think that's number one. Until women, because we were talking about women being bold, women feeling deserving. When we have to start with ourselves individually, we have to start with our own value. And I think the women that I truly spend most of my time with and we're developing in this community are women that truly feel they are deserving, and they lift as they rise. That's our big campaign for Women Connect for Good, is that we lift as you rise, bring somebody else up with you. But then it really goes back to the whole big picture that women all women have to support each other, and then all women have to support men. We've got to stop dividing and trying to conquer. It's not going to work anymore. It just, so I'm at this. Trudy Bourgeois and I are doing something that's very, very creative and really, really important. It's a woman of color having a conversation with a white woman, and we're talking about the elephant in the room. And these are the conversations that we have to have with one another: men with women, women with women of color, and white women, talking to each other. I mean, this is the challenge I have for you, Terra, is that we've got to do more stuff to talk about what is preventing us from truly having those conversations that we can support each other. But again, it has to start with each individual. As far as nothing's going to change until we each change our hearts and our minds and our whole view of the world and how to make it a better place. So, gosh, I'm getting really off on my podium. Where's my podium? I better step down. But I think. I'm challenging you because I know you're a filmmaker and you're out there and you're a storyteller. So, any way that I can be a part of something like that is really what I want to do, is to continue to find ways to help people to understand that we're not really that different from one another. Men are not that different from women. Women aren't that different from each other. And we all definitely are unique and special, but how do we really start to change the world? And that's by support. Let's face it, if everybody was on the same page right now, we would have no problems.
Well, that's true. That's true. It's just the mindset. And getting folks to understand, one another without prejudice.
Yeah.
That's the first hurdle, I think. How do we get past that? And one of the ways I set the challenge is, bringing folks like-minded where we can have the dialogue, engage, put it out there on the table, and then broadcast it in a way to draw others in who feel the same way.
Yeah.
And then from that dialogue, put together a action plan, a next step plan, where we can see the metrics, how effective these dialogues turn into action really are. I think that's very powerful. Dr. Nancy, I think there's another movement.
Trudy and I have actually enjoyed this because overall our response from the audience is that they really like this. They really want this. But what's really, I think, interfering is the fear and the discomfort. Women need to get used to being uncomfortable. We've got to be uncomfortable to move forward. But overall, I think people really want things to be different. But so we have to really think about things differently and behave differently. So, like I said, I'm all for it. And any ways that Women Connect for Good can be a part of something that really want to do that. But okay. I kind of got off on my own little tangent. This was actually, now I really realize why I wanted to talk to you, come to think of it. But this is selfish of me. I wanted this for me today to be my YouTube universe. But let's talk about what's going on with you. What do you want people to know? What's the upcoming projects that Terra Renee has, and films, and again, whatever movement that we can be a part of to really make this world a better place?
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, what we have right now, we are currently doing the educational series, which is the last Friday of each month, where we have various prominent leaders in the industry talk about various careers. We had, actually for this Friday, which is coming up, and it's free, we have a sound recordist who worked on the former First Lady Michelle Obama Becoming documentary. She did the sound.
That was good.
And so she's going to talk about that, and it gives us great pleasure to shed light on those type of careers within the industry, because we normally see writers, directors, producers, but not the sound people. So we have that coming up on Friday. We have a weekly filmmaker series every Monday on the Clubhouse app. Any of your viewers or listeners who are on the Clubhouse app. So every Monday at 6 p.m., we have filmmakers, and they're so wonderful because they talk about their real process and what they experience. And this is what we want those who are interested in filmmaking to understand. There's a real process. It's not sugar-coated, because we don't want you to walk into this blind and step on several mines and then get discouraged, and then we'll never see your talent. So this is a way that these inspiring filmmakers can listen to those who have engaged in the process and gain what they need. And then I'm happy to say that we are finally executing our next edition of our film festival, which we had started. We were going to launch it last year in March, but due to the pandemic, we had to shut it all down. So we're going to do everything online, virtually, this year. And Dr. Nancy, I'm going to be talking to you about it, because we need to figure out what we're going to do. Maybe what we just discussed with maybe that can be a segment there at the festival. We would love that. Yeah. So
we want to help.
So that's what we, yes. So it's November 4th through the 6th, online, and we're preparing for that now. So that's what we have in our pipeline that we're super excited about.
Well, and of course, your podcast, Talk with Terra. That was.
Oh yes.
Don't forget that. Don't forget that. That was so fun.
And we loved you. Rudy's still talking about you. He says, I got to get to California to get on the horse, and me too. I said, we'll make it happen. So yes, my podcast, thank you, is every Thursday at 7 p.m. on rudyradio.com. It is still #1 on the platform. So thank you so much for being a part of that. Yeah. And we're really appreciative. So that happens every Thursday. Yes.
Well, you haven't heard the last from me, and this is just one of our other times to come together. So I'm always excited about what you're doing, and believe me, you're one of the best people out there telling the story and bringing us together and making the world a better place. So I have nothing but good things to say about you. And I, even when I say your name, I smile. I don't know what it is, Terra Renee. I just smile because we've always had. I still remember when you came over to the hotel and you had those flowers for me, and I mean that was such a blessing, and that whole evening that was just amazing. So I've had such amazing times with you, and I plan on having many more.
Yes, same here.
Oh, all right. Well, give us some information about anything that we can help promote. And yes, this film festival, that would be exciting. Like I said, I'm about telling stories, and the stories that really will make the world a better place too. So I love you. It was so much fun. All right. Well, we'll talk again, and you have a great day. Your time.
Okay. Thank you so much. What an honor and a privilege to be here today. Thank you very much. Many blessings to you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. If you enjoy these smart, amazing conversations, please subscribe, rate, and review them on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And read and enjoy more amazing stories in my books, In This Together, How Successful Women Support Each Other in Work and Life, and Leading Women, 20 Influential Women Share Their Secrets to Leadership, Business, and Life. Thank you for listening.